knowing those are kind of silly concepts. Yeah, yeah, it has lots of flaws in it. It's not as precise as we'd like. It's not like, I don't know, metric system versus English system shit or something. Yeah, it's just not a very useful tool, and it could be more useful if the language was cleaned up. But we still can use it when we need to. When we need to, we have to be more precise. But it's people like you that aren't doing it because you want the answer to be more precise. You're screwing with words to evade the truth. That's what the Professor Antons and the rest of you mumbo-jumbo speakers are doing. You keep saying things like, I believe in evolution and determinism and physics, and then the second somebody turns their head, you start talking this, well, we have the freedom to freely think we have free will, or some kind of other double speak, where you just again twist and pervert language until the meaning is lost. And I say fuck you to that.
So our idea of thing was developed actually over millions of years.
Spider.
Through our sense and motor responsibilities of our brain.
Little one.
Which came up with this abstraction for objects that, persist in the world a bit and we can interact with, and there's a fruit and it has the quality of being nutritious and these kinds of things, and we didn't have to think of them as relationships to our biology and so on and so forth. And we had this idea of thing, but then we push it out to further and further abstraction. So an equation is a thing, and everything is a thing.
Yeah, well, it's kind of true. I mean, there are things, and then there are dynamics. There's function. So there's a thing, and then there's the thing's function. And the function is part of what the thing does. So, although the function isn't necessarily a thing, in the thing's sense of the word thing, I mean, it's not a material, okay, but it's an action. And actions are things. Actions can be understood, and they can be part of the quality of what something is. It's an action doer. This is what it does. And feeling is one of the actions we do, besides needing the food and all this other crap. These are all part of our function, and function is part of, those are legitimate qualities.
And it's a certain way. It's until you guys finally are like, well, if there's something out there. So when I say, well, they're not things out there, people like Gary are all like, you're denying there's things out there. Yeah, I'm denying there's things.
Yeah, well, what you're denying is, like I said, everything that we know because of what it does and how we see it do it. And that's it. That's how we understand everything, is we piece it together and then we model it. And that's what logic is. I'm going to say it again. Logic is merely putting in variables, putting in the components of the equation, and then running the equation. And running the equation is just like running your model of a circus elephant balancing on a ball, and your understanding of the physics and the dynamics. And so you can run a model that's very accurate in your head of elephant on a ball. And logic's doing the same exact thing. It's understanding the dynamics of the question being asked, what are the relevant variables, and it merely runs the equation and produces a result.
Out there. I'm not denying there's phenomena out there. I just think you mischaracterize them. You've taken your thing metaphor of what it's like to pick a fruit off a tree, and you've applied it to phenomena that it doesn't fit too well. And the problems are obvious, even at our scales. For example, that old saying, you can't step in the same river twice. That comes from a certain idea of what it is.
It comes from a bunch of crap that doesn't really mean anything. Okay? I mean, duh. The water in the stream right at this second is not going to be the same water in the stream a second later, because we can see the fucking water going downstream. We can see new water coming, and we can see the old water going. So there's nothing mysterious, or there's no reason for any cognitive dissonance or confusion about that dynamic. but we still call the stream, and it might even have the same name. It might even have a proper English name for that stream. You know, it might be Sir Wetzelot, and you know, for the last 200 years it might have that name, and that's a quality of it that we've placed upon it, but it's a legitimate now quality of it. What else is there to say? I mean, it's a quality in the sense that it was named something by certain people in a certain time frame. Not that that's relevant to its whole entire history, but I'm just saying it's a quality that has been imposed upon it because of our recognition of it, and our thinking about it, and our processing of it, and our experiencing of it. So all of that's been calculated into this idea that we actually gave it a name, just so now we have a representation for it, because it was part of our lives, not because it was not part of our lives. Yeah, because we had relationship to it. Yeah. Anyway, we'll jump ahead, see if there's anything here.
To be in the center more than he wants, you know, an elegant or simple or insightful system.
Oh, well, I'll play this again because
so,
that's
you know, to his cosmology and get numbers, the wave is not well modeled by that. You can force it, like Ptolemy can force perfect circles and spheres into his cosmology and get numbers that really do predict where, you know, Mars will be on a particular day to a pretty good accuracy. But he's just missing the point. He's bending over backwards to use tools that are insufficient because he likes those tools.
Yeah, well, again, this is you're the one faking it here. You use this concept of wave as if it has some properties it doesn't have. Alright? I mean, that's all it is a function. A wave is a function. Alright? Again, it's an action. Waves are actions. They aren't things. They move things. Things move through the function of a wave. You know, again, you're the one cheating here to imply an ambiguity, or that there's something confusing, because now you waved it, and we know that waves are, you know, indecipherable. But they're not. It's just that most of them are beyond our senses, but they're not beyond our knowledge, our understanding. We can't understand what's happening. But again, for the purpose of our existence, we don't need to do that. We don't need to understand that this is a function of the atomic structure, the magnetic forces within things changing, which is changing their position. But it is not, how best to say that, but it's not a property of the things. They are being manipulated by the environment that is itself a thing. Their relationship is now creeping. They've been creeped by it, and pushed and shoved into a new position. Yeah. But yeah, it becomes part of what they are. The fact that just as we are what the spinning earth makes us, that is the foundation of what we, you know, that is part of our container. And if that container blows up, then our matter is going to be doing something different. You know, the same is true of a wave. Yeah, but whatever. Again, in my opinion, you're just making this more complicated than it has to be. The truth is that there's one reality, and there's one truth. And if your statements are well spoken, well conceived, well stated, 99% of the time you can be explicitly accurate. Or let's just say 95 or 90%, who cares? That what you're saying is generally correct, but it would also be correct even if you did do the logic to the 9 trillionth place. It's still going to be true. At the end of the universe, it's still going to be a fact that this thing called a bottle was in my hand at this particular moment in time on planet Earth. Yeah, it's true. It's close enough. It's accurate enough verbiage. I don't need to qualify it more decimal places. I shouldn't have to have a rational conversation with another human being who speaks fucking English. But if he's going to pervert the language and destroy the meaning of every fucking word in the vocabulary, well then yeah, there's no conversation. And I think that's all you're doing. Just like this image, you are perverting and twisting and distorting words to make them seem like something they're not. To sell bullshit. Yeah. Alright, enough of a video. Sorry about the length.